Today, I have a special guest, and she is formerly known as Lois Copey. And she has been on this healing journey. And that's why I wanted to share with you. And her spiritual name is Misty Magdalena Grace. And she has been called the healer's healer. She specializes in grief, trauma, and addiction. And after her own journey, which we're going to talk about, is a mom. She works with couples, helps people truly live their best lives. Focuses on physical, mental, and spiritual health, and talk about how she got here, what she's been up to, and what we can look forward to, and if we're looking at healing. So there are other options, and this is why I wanted to speak to her today, because I'm so excited about her journey and what she's done. And I think she has a lot to share with us just for her expertise. So thank you for connecting and sharing all of this information with us.
Oh my gosh, it's such an honor. Thank you for hosting and sharing all of the inspiration that you have shared. I guess, do you want me to just dive right in and share my story?
Absolutely.
Cool. And I will say it's a long one, so I'm going to do my best to be succinct because I really want people to get a lot of value from our conversation today. And when you met me, that was 2020, and I didn't know it, but I was about to hit my mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional rock bottom. I had been wearing a mask, probably wearing 5 different types of masks, struggling as a mom, struggling as a wife, really focused on success, money, taking action. And I really fallen into that by surrounding myself by a lot of coaches, mentors, organizations, different industries that I had been in that were all about the money, all about the sales, and all about, just taking action every day. And so over time, I became a binge drinking workaholic, which I knew in my soul that's not who I was. I was hiding my drinking. I was ashamed because alcoholism ran in my family. I had really fallen into making money and doing all these different things, and was just really exhausted. And even though I was making $20,000 to $40,000 a month in the middle of a pandemic, launching a top 20 podcast, woohoo, getting 150 reviews, doing all the things, right? Checking off the list, being a good girl, I wanted to die. And I read the book called The Surrender Experiment, the fall of 2020. Now, keep in mind, my brother did die of alcoholism in 2020. My mom died right after him. And I never really had a mom. She was schizophrenic. I was born in a mental institution hospital, and she was out of my life very soon. A lot of abandonment issues, a lot of pain. But when she died and my brother died, it was almost like they gave me permission to start my healing process and give me permission to admit I had a drinking problem, giving me permission to really understanding that, wow, I never had a mom. So therefore I'm feeling like a worthless mom right now. And I also had 8 friends commit suicide over a several year period. So I had all this grief and grief recovery coaching and the psychotherapy, the subconscious mind coaches, all of that kind of stuff was not working for me. So when I read The Surrender Experiment, coming back to full circle here, I was actually really pissed off because he was talking about Michael Singer, the author of that. He also wrote The Untethered Soul. He was like meditating hours on end and became a multi-millionaire. And of course, my soul was like, yeah, that's who you used to be. Remember? Because I was really successful in my 20s and I never worked nights or weekends. I was just a different person and believed in balance. And they say that first the truth, it will set you free, but at first it'll piss you off. So it pissed me off enough that I put it out to the universe. Like, I need help. Everything I'm trying right now is not working. And a spiritual mentor came into my life. And he was a channel. He was actually a guest on my podcast. So it was really interesting. He was supposed to come on and talk about nutrition, and he channeled the divine and said, you're supposed to be a healer. You're supposed to be a teacher. You've got to heal yourself and go within. And I was like, because I just read The Surrender Experiment. I mean, what's the answer? Because I've been meditating for years. And he said, no, go play with psilocybin and ayahuasca. And since I had no other options, at least that I could find at that time, I dove head first into the deep end of the pool. And I did sit with psilocybin, ayahuasca, and ayahuasca and combo frog medicine as well over 60 times in a 2-year period. Not recommending that for people. I definitely overdid it because I my personality, and for a lot of reasons that I may or may not go into, that I just was like, I just wanted to heal so bad that I sat that much to heal my grief, trauma, addiction, get to the ancestral root causes of it, quieting this, going into my body, going into past lives and all the different things that I did during that time, recognizing, alcoholism doesn't run in my family, mental illness doesn't run in my family. What I learned and what I personally teach now is it's the trauma, it's the DNA, it's the unresolved stuckness in our bodies that is really what's passed on to us. And I didn't know any better. And so when you don't know better, you can't do better. And so once I started realizing, oh my gosh, I need to help people. And that was what the guy was telling me. He's like, you're a healer, you're a teacher. So having had 17 years in background in health and fitness, I already understood the body, mind, nutrition, gut health thing. I was just missing the spiritual component. And so then I studied with plant medicine women and a couple of shamans. And then, of course, my husband came on the journey with me. He became a shaman. That's a whole nother story we don't have time for, but he remembered who he truly was. I remembered that I've been a medicine woman, a witch, whatever, in many lifetimes. So I was just coming back to my true nature and purpose. And so I did a lot more study. Yeah, thanks. So that's the short version of my story. Now I'm not a binge drinking workaholic anymore. I lost 40 pounds. I changed my podcast, went from entrepreneurship to spirituality category, and now we're serving combo and group ceremony and individuals and working with couples, and because it saved our marriage too. We were both like just walking wounded warriors trying to understand why we're here, because neither one of us really wanted to live anymore at that point. And we know a lot of people are waking up to their truth now more than ever with the ascension and age of Aquarius. So we came out of the spiritual broom closet faster than we had planned, because we had friends begging us to serve medicine to them. And so we were kind of like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And since that's the beginning of 2023, we've never looked back.
That's amazing. I did not know your husband became a shaman too. So yeah, there's still a lot I don't know that's happened in the last few years.
Yeah, it's pretty, we definitely were on the fast track, but it was our calling, our divine guidance, and our ancestors were demanding that we go through this process. And in my brother's death, actually my brother's spirit came and visited my husband. My husband's a ghost whisperer. That was the first sign that woke us up to, okay, something's going on with you, something's going on with me. And it was really, really bittersweet that, my brother died in order for us to both live and to help others.
Wow, that is an amazing story and journey. So with that, thank you for sharing that. What I want to know is, how are you helping others? And, when they're in a situation where they don't know where else to go, like, I have a few people that I can just think off the top of my head. They've tried everything. They don't know what to do. And that's why I wanted you to speak on the podcast, because you have hit that rock bottom. And there are a lot of people out there, I think, because they're coming to the spiritual journey and because Western medicine isn't working for us, right? It's a pill. They're treating the symptoms. They're not getting to the root cause. And that's what I found with my cancer. So, right, my cancer was a symptom of a lot of stuff going wrong in my body that I needed to balance out. So healing the cancer was the beginning of my journey. And so that's why I reached out to you, because I think that a lot of people, they just don't know where to go. They don't know who to turn to. And there's a lot of people out there that are saying that they can help you. But like we were talking, they only help you so far, and they do this one certain thing, but there's a lot more. Right. And you need to know, if you do go through a Cambo experience or a healing journey, there's other things that you have to do to follow through with it. Otherwise, things happen. Like for me, I was really open and lots of things were happening when I was going to sleep. It opened up a little bit more for me, and I was taking on other people's energy, which was sucking my energy, if that makes sense.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Thank you for your story too. And being open about that, because more people need to hear about the side effects of healing and the mishaps and the potential pitfalls, I guess we'll say. And because I have a safety first, do no harm mindset, kind of almost like a HIPAA compliance, I'm very vocal about safety inside of the space. When I say plant medicine, yes, I am. I don't like to call them psychedelics, because that's people, then they think, oh, are we going to get high and, do the 60s thing? And I'm like, no, this is a sacred medicine, that it does help with expanded consciousness. And it's also very dangerous. And so if it's not done in a sacred way, I've seen people go bipolar. I've seen people kill themselves. I've seen people just take, like myself, I backslid for a year. Like I went from one extreme to another. I went, oh, money, 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 do, go, 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 to no, I'm spiritual. I can't make money. That's, and I actually went into a lot of debt. I have no shame anymore. I've transmuted a lot of that, but I went into a significant amount of debt, to save my life. Now, granted, I would rather take debt over death any day, but I also want to help you, the listeners, to save money and time. And oh, by the way, your sanity, because when you're healing physically and spiritually, and I like to share, I believe we're mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional beings. My specialty is the physical and the spiritual, because I've coached over 10,000 people in health, fitness, nutrition, gut health. And I personally don't believe, this is me. You don't have to agree with me, but I personally believe the best way to heal the mind is through the physical and the spiritual. And then the emotional is just going to work itself out. But think about this. If you came in with ancestral trauma from both sides, 7 generations back, do you think you're going to get rid of that overnight? No. Do you think when it starts to come out, whether it's through purging with Cambo, for example, puking, pooping, crying, screaming, sweating, all of the fun things that people are like, wait, what? Do I really want to do that? And I'm like, yes, we'll talk more about that later. But it's not going to be pretty. It's probably not going to be comfortable. If your healing is comfortable, like maybe the spa is for you, but guess what? You're still going to repress what you resist, persists, and you could still get cancer, to your point, right? We have to purge it. But as it comes out, it's going to bring up emotions. It's going to bring up what Carl Jung talks about, the shadow. And a lot of times myself, I became addicted to social media, alcohol, and staying busy because I didn't want to feel the bad stuff. The bad stuff sucked. The bad stuff made me have to look in the mirror and take off my masks and be honest with myself. None of that is an overnight thing. None of that is easy. None of that should be done alone either. By the way, I've lost 12 friends to suicide now, and that's just not cool. I'm not here to help anybody add to that number. Okay. But you got to have a guide. And then the spiritual component is how do you come back to love and compassion inside of yourself and hold yourself through that physical stuff. So I teach people, first of all, we're going to work with you the physical, whether it's with plant medicine like psilocybin or ayahuasca or Cambo. Either one is beautiful. And a lot of times both is what I know I needed personally. But when you're purging physically, you've got to have a daily spiritual practice. And so I teach people how to meditate. And sometimes microdosing is necessary, and a lot of times it's not. But getting up like you're 30 minutes earlier in the morning, meditating, chanting, doing mantras, what I'm wearing my mala here, whatever it takes, lighting incense, a candle, your stones, your crystals, protecting and creating your own sacred ceremony. And going within, because we've been programmed by institutions, big pharma, as well as churches and religions. I'm just going to put them all on the table here. None of them are bad. It's just they've programmed us to look outside ourselves for our answers when all of our answers lie within. And so that's the spiritual component. And you got to be able to have compassion, grace, patience as you're going through this process. Because my hope is for anyone, you could accomplish in 6 to 12 months what took me 3 years and multiple 5 figures. It shouldn't have to be that way, but it's a very, very dangerous to try to piecemeal it and do it on your own, which is essentially what I did for the first 18 months, because I didn't know much about integration. I didn't know about embodying the medicine beyond the ceremony or protecting myself. To your point, I could tell you horror stories about what happened when we didn't. But at any rate, if you're working with those physical and spiritual components with me, I'm going to make sure you're also honoring the mental, the ego, mind, and all of that kind of stuff, and having those tools in your tool belt every day, whether it's breath work, meditation, Kundalini yoga. There's all sorts of different tools out there. I'm not saying one size fits all, but to be able to have those in a safe, structured container, just a container is a safe space to be in, to hold yourself and to be held by a teacher or someone like myself in order to make it through, because the only way is through. There's no bypassing. There's no shortcuts. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you there was, because especially Americans, we're all about instant gratification, Black Friday sales, right? Since we're recording this on Friday. And it's just our condition of humanity that we're also being, I think, taught how to work through during these really changing, interesting economic times that we're in right now.
Right. Right. And I think that's important to know, to, like you said, to have somebody that you trust that can walk you through this. I was lucky that I had people, they too are a couple. He works with inner child, but because I didn't feel the pain, I had to let it in. And if I didn't have people that knew what they were doing, it would have been even worse, because I had to feel the physical pain. And she said she had gone through that as well. Everybody else was like up talking and they were enjoying their experience. And I'm like literally in physical pain because I had not let any of that in. So, he kept saying, you got to let it in. You got to let it in to let it go, let it in to let it go. So to your point, you need to definitely have somebody that knows what they're doing, because everybody's body is differently and everybody is going to react differently. And I went in thinking like I was going to do some psychedelics and I was going to see all these wonderful things that people talk about. And yeah, that was not my experience at all, but it was amazing. The vibrations in my body after I let go of all of that stuff and feeling part of nature. I mean, I reached a side of me that I didn't even know I had.
Awesome. Beautiful. Beautiful.
So,
beautiful.
So I appreciate what you do, and I'm excited because, we need to have more people and share more people that are doing this and sharing their experience, because I do think that there are so many people that are suffering with anxiety and depression, and a lot of people don't understand why, and even the addictive nature. So I think talking to you and understanding that it comes from within, but it comes even before we were born, from our ancestors. And I think we don't talk a lot about that.
No, I mean, I think I understood that to a different level. Like alcoholism ran in my family, mental illness ran in my family, autoimmune disease. I forgot about that. I manifested that in my body, but it had run in the family, kind of a thing. And actually, I didn't know that autoimmune disease ran in my family. When I got it, I was like, I wonder if anybody else. And sure enough, there was a woman in every one of my dad's siblings' family that had this exact same one. And I'm like, what is this all about? And so then I got a certification during the pandemic that was a lot about NLP and subconscious mind and superconscious healing and all of that kind of stuff. And they reminded me, 7 generations back. And after I've sat with plant medicine, now I'm like, no, we're talking like the beginning of planet Earth, going back that far. We all have a connection. Sorry, that's my cat doing something. I don't know if you heard that, but
I didn't hear it.
Okay, good. Okay. I just wanted to acknowledge my facial expressions there. But yeah, we all carry that DNA on both mom and dad's side. And if you don't know them, that's kind of an even bigger deal. So how do you get rid of that? And that's really, really important. I think that's why medications and big pharma and a lot of different dis-ease is not ever cured or healed by scientific research, because they're not getting to the root cause of it, which is literally in your family root of your family tree.
Right. Speaking of root cause, right? It's definitely a root that we have to get to, but it goes beyond the physical world, right? And I know a lot of people won't agree with that, but you have to go down your own journey. And I think for both you and I, it made a huge difference to go back that far. I feel lighter. I am happier. Again, I didn't know that was possible. And opposite of you, breast cancer did not run in my family. Not one person in my family had breast cancer. Okay. So I honestly feel that I just kind of manifested that because I didn't know what to do with all this energy, and I was so angry. And so I think it became a mass because I didn't know how to let it go, to feel it, to let it in. I just kept making my life so busy. So like you said, I didn't have to deal with the feelings. And then when I did the Cambo, that's when I had to feel the feels.
Yeah. And that's why I want to say, with respect, because I never want to offend anyone when I'm speaking. So I don't want people to mix my words, but I've lost a lot of friends to cancer, suicide, addiction, and all of these things. And I now it seems like, because we're ascending into the fifth dimension or age of Aquarius or whatever, new earth, whatever you want to call it, or maybe this is the first time you've heard this, it just seems like a lot more people are getting sick. Cancer, a lot of suicide is on the rise. And like, I feel there's ways to prevent it. And if you have the ability to go through the physical purging and feeling of the emotions in your body, gosh, that's like one of the best ways to prevent dis-ease. And once you heal yourself, you heal the collective. Once you heal yourself, you heal your children, if you have children, or your lineage. And that's another reason to really look into healing, because you just don't know who you might be impacting when you're healing yourself at the cellular level. And I'm not talking about taking supplements either, because I was in that industry. I got out of that industry actually because I was tired of the thought of, oh, I'll just swallow a pill. Oh, I'll just drink a shake. And all of a sudden I'm changed. And I hate to say it, but some of the healthiest people I know are coming up with cancer diagnoses right now. And they're doing a lot of spiritual things, maybe a lot of supplements and things, but they're still getting the diagnosis because of that physical purging. That ancestral stuff is got to be felt and seen and let go of.
Right. And I talk a lot about mouth body connection and how your mouth is connected to your gut, but I think it starts with your mind. A lot of that stuff with what we think and what we say and what we put in our mouth and how we breathe, it all starts with that. But it does for all of us, it starts ancestrally. And, I think that's why I definitely wanted to be able to speak to this. And I'm glad that you can speak to this, because when people aren't getting anywhere, sometimes that's where it's coming from. You have to go back a lot further than our healthcare industry does. So,
yeah, because our healthcare industry, back when our ancestors, like in 2000 BC or whatever, even before that, in the early 100s, there was no pharmaceutical. The healthcare was not a sick care system. It wasn't a correction model. It was a food is your medicine model. Laughter, fun, alcohol and tobacco were sacred. They were not demonized money pits for becoming addicted to, all of these things weren't happening. So if you really open your eyes, one of the biggest wounds I healed was the religion wound. And I thought it was just happened to me in this lifetime. No, it went all the way back to as far back as I could go with plant medicine regression work that my husband does to find that, no, it started when the Christians converted my pagan ancestors and forced them, or they died, a painful, starvation type death. It was feast or famine, which also explains a lot of money issues and things that I've had in my lifetime. So it's fascinating to me how history repeats itself and people don't question exactly why. There's a reason for that, because we haven't really gone back and retraced our steps to the deepest spiritual possible level.
Yep, and we do repeat it. And food is medicine, but even our food these days, that's why there are so many supplements, because we're not getting the nutrients from the food that we did back then, and we're not chewing our food. So that's why when I talk about, that's why we have crowded teeth. That's why our airways are smaller. That's why we're having more mouth breathing and not able to breathe, because we don't chew as much. We used to chew 4 hours a day because we were hunter-gatherers and it was harder to chew. And now we have more processed foods, more softer foods. So that's why we have more crooked teeth. So like you said, it just goes back and everything has changed, and it's changing our physical body. And they're saying now that it's going to take 3 generations of using food and chewing your food to go back to where we were as far as our jaw structure and all of that. So, the more people that can heal in this way, I think the healthier we're all going to be. And like you said, our children and our grandchildren and even our parents and grandparents, if they're still alive, it can heal both ways.
Yeah. Yeah. You made me think of something that I do want to make sure we cover, if this is okay. We talk about, I call it breaking ancestral cycles. Some people call it generational cycles, whatever. Be the change you want to see in the world ultimately. And so when you have a healing session, You can't just go back and expect life to be as business as usual. You got to take some time to integrate. We call it integration, making whole and complete of that experience of whatever you felt and healed, whatever you named, whether it was shame, guilt, fear, addiction, sadness, grief, anger. All of them are important. They are part of our humanity, so you can't run from them. If you do, then that's where disease sets in, or addictive behaviors, trauma, grief, all of that. So what we believe is, you can really only change one or two things after a healing ceremony, whether it's combo, plant medicine. But I say only like one or two, fairly important things, and coming back into alignment. The medicines are here to help us remember who we truly are. The medicines are here to help us remember the proper actions for us. Like the biggest thing for me was self-love and self-compassion. I had too much self-hatred and self-loathing. So I didn't change that overnight either. It probably took me 2 years of using that as an aligned action for myself. How was my self-care, self-love, spiritual practices that took me almost 2 years to develop, because I didn't have anyone like me to help me with that. And that's why now we help people with that, because you can't move the Titanic around like this, right? It's a big opportunity to slowly but carefully make those changes. And if you don't see changes, after 90 days or 6 months, then it just means you're probably trying to do it by yourself, or, you've just got to find the right guidance for you to help you see lasting change and lasting results. Because I was addicted to healing. I went to acupuncture for over a decade every month, and then I would just go back and drinking alcohol and doing these other things, and I actually used them as band-aids. I found out after a while, because I was just seeing that, oh, I'm a good girl, I'm doing all of this healing stuff, but then I wasn't making any lifestyle changes. I wasn't taking action and being empowered and integrity with myself. And so that's what we want to encourage people when you're sitting with Cambo or psilocybin or whatever. It's not a quick fix, but if you take small sustainable changes every day, like the book The Compound Effect or The Slight Edge talk about, then you could change your DNA. Your ancestral stuff is moving and dissolving, and your ego and all of that is getting out of the way. And so that's just a big important piece to remember.
Absolutely. And a lot of this stuff is epigenetic too. It's things that are habits that are changed. And so we can make those changes. And a lot of things that we think are genetic aren't actually genetic. We can change some of these things.
Oh my gosh. 100%. 100%.
So yeah, absolutely. I know that a lot of people say soft teeth runs in my family, and teeth are the hardest substance in the body. So it's not that your teeth are soft. It's that you have these habits and you have these epigenetic changes that are happening that are causing a lot of what's happening in your mouth. So I started this whole thing wanting to prevent cavities, and now it's so much more. So I found that it's not just about brushing, flossing, and visiting your dentist twice a year, which is what we're taught. It goes a lot further than that. So, and that's, yeah, and it's the whole body. And our healthcare system treats everything separately. Our mouth has its own insurance. We treat it separately. We don't see the connection. And that's how I found the cancer. My gums were bleeding, and I knew that it wasn't right. And I knew I had healthy gums. So it was something telling me something was wrong. And so I found it in a stage 1, but because my gums were bleeding, my hair was falling out. I had all these tests done. They were telling me it was just the stress. It was going through a divorce. It was going to be fine. And I'm like, no, I listened to my body and something telling me it wasn't right. And that's how I found it. And so I think that's why I speak a lot about this now, and why I try to bring people that can maybe just resonate with someone, that this might be something you want to do. So that leads me into my next question to you is, if someone would like to go down this journey and reach out to you, where do you suggest that they start? How do they reach out to you? And where would they start a healing journey outside of conventional medicine?
Yeah, for sure. Well, number one, since it's not a one size fits all approach, I always offer up a complimentary call, which I can get you your own special affiliate link for that. So you can share it with your listeners. So I'll make sure I do that. Another option then, of course, is if they want to consume content in my YouTube channel, or I do have a website where I have tons of free education. I do free, I have free recordings galore of past interviews and past things on my website, which again, I'll give that link to you, as well as my booking link and other tools and free classes. I do a lot of free classes now on both combo and microdosing. Because sometimes people are scared to do a deep dive. So I do teach and coach on microdosing just a small amount of the psilocybin or the ayahuasca and helping them to be able to start to change their habits. I will say this, like a lot of times when people come to plant medicine, like we were talking earlier, they may have hit rock bottom. Now, if people are open, I can start them on a 30-day virtual program with nutrition and microdosing to start to make sure that they're even ready to receive the deep dive medicine or ready to receive the combo frog medicine. Because again, I know if I could go back and do it differently, I wish someone would have done that for me, because I spent a ton of money on plant medicine when I was still drinking lots of alcohol, and I was still, doing a lot of different things that weren't so healthy. So I like to do a free consultation first to meet people where they're at and help them walk before they run. And ideally, if they're wanting to work and get lasting change, it's usually a 3 to 6 to 9 month commitment. I just want to plant that seed now, just making sure that people are really serious. So on that consultation, it's very thorough, medical and mental health. Again, safety first, do no harm. There are going to be people where this path is not approved. There are lots of contraindications with both plant medicine. Combo actually has more contraindications, believe it or not, than ayahuasca or psilocybin. So depending on where people are at, I would probably encourage them to start with combo. But if they're not local to me in San Diego, I can maybe refer them to a combo practitioner. But if they're willing to fly to me, we do retreats here in our personal location for retreats for personalized attention as well.
That's awesome. And yeah, I think that is a good point that I didn't even think about mentioning. She had us change our diet a month before we went. No coffee and no alcohol. And, so we had a whole diet that we were prepared ourselves for, which I totally appreciate, because like you said, getting all of that stuff out prepares your body for the experience and the journey that you're going to have. And we do eat a lot of things that are not good for our body. And I never felt better. And then after that experience, I went to Spain, and eating the food there, when people, because I'm really sensitive to things. And once I went through that journey and cleansed my body and then went to a different country, it just tells me that food definitely is medicine and makes a total difference in how your body feels, what you put in it. So I think that that's awesome that you do that and prepare your body for what's going to happen, because it does make a difference.
Well, and I'll mention this too, because I don't think we talked about this. I talked about integration after. Different people say different things. Some people will say even as up to 90% of your success with both combo and plant medicine is the preparation. So I always prepare people minimum 2 weeks out, and then I'll support them 30 days after to ensure they get lasting actions and are in alignment and congruent. But yeah, we prepare people extensively beforehand, just because you want more spaciousness in your life. I know my first few medicine ceremonies, I worked up until the second I drove. And then, you barely have 24 hours and I was back working again. Yeah. Not good. Not recommended. And I see that happening a lot. And you can get so much more if you do a social media fast before, go to get more rest, sleep hygiene. I can't believe how many people's sleep hygiene is bad, like really awful. And I oftentimes will start there, almost like a holistic health coach prior to, because you've got to be ready to receive the medicine, because it's very, very physically taxing.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, not only is the medicine taxing, just what you go through and what your body releases is taxing. And you're right. That's one of the things that I talk about is sleep hygiene and nasal hygiene and being able to sleep, because our body rests and repairs during our sleep. So if we're not getting at least 6 hours of sleep, our body's not repairing and it's just causing more damage. So we can't think straight. We can't focus. So sleep is really one of the important things that we can do for our body. And we used to our circadian rhythm went with the sun and the moon, right? And now it no longer does. We have different shifts that people work. So sleep is all over the board, this day and age.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
that is absolutely important that you bring that up. So thank you for doing this and talking to us. So if someone wants to get a hold of you, we'll go ahead and put a link below, and they can go ahead and just start looking at your information and see if this is something that they would like to do. And then they can reach out to you with that link and schedule a call. So I appreciate that you're doing all of that stuff. And what is the first thing besides like getting your content and getting to know you? Would it be jump on a call and then you can just walk them through what they are thinking that they would like to do, and then you can tell them where the good first step is from them after getting to know you a little bit through the free content?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because, and they can subscribe to my YouTube channel too. I mean, just follow me and see if I'm even the right teacher for you. It is important to have a trusting, committed relationship with your teacher. And I do consider myself a healer and a spiritual teacher. So you also got to be ready to open yourself up to that conversation, which is not everybody's really ready for yet. So you can follow me on my YouTube channel, my podcast, Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, but that call is really the next best step for sure.
There was one more thing we were talking about, that you have a GoFundMe page that you're doing for people that might not be able to afford this, so you can help others.
Yeah, we want to start a nonprofit. We call our business the Lotus Throne Sanctuary. We got lots of Google reviews on Google. If you want to go find our page, the Lotus Throne Sanctuary, and we're doing a GoFundMe so that we can have scholarships for people, because a lot of times in this world, we don't. Shocker, we don't take insurance, and everything we do is not necessarily considered traditional. So there may be some barriers to entry, and I spent all of my money on this path to heal, and we know that not everybody has that ability, like I and my husband did have. So we want to be able to give back and give a number of scholarships every single month for people who are struggling with addiction, grief, suicidal thoughts, or suicidal ideation. So if it's in your heart to donate and to give, we have a give back. If you donate to our cause, we'll give you a free healing session of your choosing. And that is too broad to even say what it could be. We definitely would reach out to you if you donated, and be able to help you also in your journey as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that, it can definitely make a difference, especially in this world now where we're at. And thanks for taking the time out to share your journey with us and what you're doing. And I am so excited. I truly feel that you are where you need to be in healing others. So thank you so much for being a part of this and sharing with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.